Joined the Jockey Club of Saudi Arabia in April 2019, following a 13-year tenure as GM of NAS Racecourse, under the guidance of Chairman His Royal Highness Prince Bandar bin Khalid Al Faisal. Tom led the team who developed the Saudi Cup concept and established the event across all operational aspects. To date, 5 renewals has attracted 365 international runners from 17 different countries. Tom, floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity just to give you an overview of things at the Saudi Arabia side and the Jockey Club. A lot of the things I'll tell you today will be complementing our chairman's delivery yesterday and our friends in Dubai just now. So briefly, timelines that are relevant to us. A lot of you will obviously be aware of the 2 dates on the right-hand side, but just to give you a strength and depth overview of racing generally in Saudi Arabia, there's 60 years of history basically in terms of racing. It's a very deep understanding of what racing is. 25 years member of this association in terms of the Asian Racing Federation. So on top of the Saudi Cup, we have a very strong foundation of racing and commitment to it. A number of just key statistics, just to add what V said. For the purpose of these, I've just taken out the purebred Arabian piece, but 350 runners international over the first 5 years, 16 visiting countries. When you add the local horses and the Omanis who kindly give us some purebred Arabians, that brings you to 18 countries contributing. Jockeys from over 25 different countries ridden at the event, and on top of the international races, you know, that attract the horses, a very, very unique Jockeys Challenge where we pitted 7 men and 7 women together riding equally, and that was a great reflection of wider society changes in Saudi Arabia. 32 individual female riders have ridden so far, and when you actually look at that division, there's at least another 25 on our short list that we have before we get back to the start of the list again. Out of the 5 competitions or renewals we've actually had 3 lady winners, so we've put a lot into that, and just that's our chairman, Prince Bandar, with the participants of the 2024 renewal just gone by. The race program, which obviously underpins everything, there's the 7 races that are kind of features our efforts. Something for everybody. We're very proud of a lot of this. The first one is restricted to Part 3, Part 2 countries, so it gives them a centre stage opportunity on a big day. Obviously, the big race at the bottom is significant, and in between, something for everybody. I'd like to thank the Asian Pattern Committee for their help, and obviously Airpark as well. They've been very supportive, and I'm glad to report every time they did support us with an upgrade, that race kicked on and improved, and you know, we've been very happy with their support. We'd have liked to consider that race program at the time when it was developed in 2019 as carefully considered and adding value to what's around it. We were keen to complement our friends in Dubai Racing Club, maximise the international appeal, which you get a sense of the 350 plus runners. And then a key one for us was inspiring local horsemen in the Saudi Arabian industry with that. In terms of that international integration, we've had 50 US or Japanese runners come and compete and then bounce across to Dubai and go again. Obviously, COVID in 2020 scuppered the Dubai World Cup, so that's 5 for us and 4 for them. And very, very interestingly, 10 Saudi Arabian trained horses that went across. So that'll give you a sense of our trainers, our owners, concentrating on quality and joining that sort of global level. In terms of being successful in both events, this guy here, Mishrif, started the whole thing. He did a dirt turf double in terms of Saudi Cup and then the Shima in Dubai. Country Grammar is the horse that's closest to got the big 2. So he was second with us in 2022 and won better in Dubai World Cup 4 years later. Alex Ferguson had great fun with this guy. Won in Bahrain in November, won with us, and then ran in the Shima. So he actually appeared in 3 feature GCC races across 3 different countries. And in particular, given that we're in Japan, we're very, very happy to be associated with this guy, forever young, won our Saudi Derby, UAE Derby, and obviously a heroic effort in Kentucky Derby. I think in the fullness of time, when we reflect on what this guy has done over 4.5 months across the Northern Hemisphere, I think he'll stand the history of time very, very well. We would like to think that the efforts for the Saudi Cup have added a value and an impetus to the domestic the efforts. We're mindful that we run the first ever turf race in the country in February 2020. We're now working on a wider development of a turf programme which will continue apace over time. That's Port Lines for Bahrain, just there on the left, winning that first ever turf race. Just a few statistics, I won't get too deep into these, and they complement what Winfred said yesterday. We've had nearly 3,800 starters in the last 12 months in Saudi Arabia, 100 fixtures a year. We average sort of 10, 11 races a day. Again, the number of races increase to complement that. The overall owners are increasing. Obviously, go back to the races. With increase in races, support in extra prize money and investment has been very, very enthusiastic there. And trainers, so we have more people who want to be involved in training, and so all metrics are pointing in the right direction as far as we would like to think. There's knock-on effects then to other facets, increased veterinary standards and horse welfare. For the first Saudi Cup, we opened a hospital. The building was there, we just had to fit it out and get it operating. Now that works 365 days a year and benefits horses all around the Riyadh region. Standard things then like horse ambulances, we've invested in people, regulatory vets, welfare vets, good surgeons. So we're really, really pushing forward on all fronts, which benefits horses that are there all year round. Horse racing is a spectator sport. We heard a lot about yesterday afternoon. And again, that's something we're getting into, a crowd scene from one of the Saudi Cups. We've done a lot of great things with the Ministry of Culture, with fashion, with food, with experience. And we're hoping now just to spread that across into our regular season and really establish horse racing as a spectator sport that can have fans and a lot to offer in that respect. In terms of the future outlook, we have a lot of strategic planning going on at the moment. Domestic demand and investment is expected to continue and even increase in the short space of time. In terms of the international relevance of Saudi racing and then Saudi runners to go out to other countries, we're putting a lot into that. We'd love to have the Saudi Cup more relevant to extra countries, but we have horse movement challenges, I think, as an industry to overcome. We'd love to have Hong Kong, Australia, South America, but I think we need to continue to work together to make that better. We'll be delivering a lot of key infrastructure projects, and again, over time, we'd like to see a Part 1 application happening in time. Our long-term strategic planning is essentially to deliver elite performance. It's based on those 4 key pillars there on your slides. The infrastructure rollout is very interesting. That will happen in a lot of different levels, but one key addition will be a new race course in Qiddiya that will also host the Formula 1 track and a lot of other event-related things. The finish line there, just on the top left-hand side, left-handed track, but you'll see there a turf surface in particular with a mile straight that will have a capacity of 30 runners. You'll see there how it's just orientated from a compass perspective. And a key feature of Qiddiya is the cliffs and the beautiful natural setting that's there. And that's just an indicative view from the grandstand, maybe as the horses will pass there in a few years' time when that project is delivered. So thank you. And maybe the chairman, I think, might have a question or two for me.
Well, I do have a question for you. Hope it's not too sensitive.
That's all right.
So, Tom, from a transformation perspective, gender diversity, I saw your slide, very impressive with the ladies all competing on Saudi Cup weekend. I know you have done a lot, so I've seen it. I obviously interact with you. And my problem is that what's really happening in Saudi with your transformation, gender transformation and diversity, is not out there in the real world. So you have an issue, the perception versus the reality. Do you have any strategy to try and close that gap?
I think what the country is doing generally, with the lot it's doing with sporting and entertainment events, is come see it. So seeing is believing. So over time, people will come and they'll see what's happening. I can tell you, as a visitor to the country, there's a lot of very positive stuff going on. Women in particular are now very dominant in the workforce. Obviously, the driving situation a long time ago now, and hence the Jockeys Challenge. We structured it that way to complement what's happening in the wider society. So everything is pointing up in that direction, and I think over time that message will get out to the rest of the world.
Thank you very much for that, Tom. I see it, but just want to ensure that the rest of the world can see what's happening. My final question, I see they tasked you with the new racecourse, Qiddiya. Now, in June 2019, you were tasked to ensure that the Saudi Cup runs in 2020. Now, for me, at that time, that was an impossible task. I'm even battling to get perspective in retrospect. So please, in 1 minute, explain me on how you did that.
If I could I had one slide left. If I could just go back to that, if that was possible, just to put it up. I have a couple of dates that might just frame the whole thing for you. I don't know, can we go back? So very briefly, V.
Yes.
On that, we were, in the early part of my slide, I said we wanted to widen the international appeal of the event. We felt we needed a turf track to do that. We hadn't a lot of time, but the one thing we did was we got the best people in the world around us from a scientific and an agronomy perspective, okay? We trusted them. It was very tight. And Prince Bandar, to be very fair, he trusted us and he supported us every last inch, last millimetre of this. But in short, we put seed in the ground on the 14th of November 2019. 76 days later, we had the trial, and you see the smiley faces there. James Doyle and Frankie is hiding, William Buick, Danny Tudthorpe. And then 30 days later, 106 days from seeding to racing, we ran 3 very successful turf races. So,
well, that was very impressive. Well done. Timelines.
Yeah.
Leadership support is very important.
Well, we had Prince Bandar leading us.
Correct.
He gave us the confidence and the support, and we just delivered. But I think encompassing that, we decided that failure was not an option. So there was the line. We had to get to the line, and everybody was happy with it. But I think, as I said earlier, it now brings turf racing to Saudi Arabia, as well as the other Gulf countries. And what that does for us over time is going to be very significant.
Thank you for that, Tom. Brilliant, excellent, well done.